A woman at a resort demanded I move from my reserved poolside cabana, snapping, "I deserve it more because I'm a mother." When I refused, she called security, who then turned to me and said, "Sorry about this, miss. Your complimentary champagne is on the way." Her face twisted in rage as they escorted her to the public lounge chairs. I was on vacation in Orlando, Florida, staying at the Caribe Royale Resort. The resort is known for its beautiful pool area, complete with a 75-foot waterslide, waterfalls, and private cabanas. I had booked one of these cabanas in advance, looking forward to a day of relaxation by the pool. That morning, after a leisurely breakfast at the resort's Tropicale restaurant, I headed to the pool area. The sun was shining, and the pool was already bustling with families and couples enjoying the water and the warm weather. As I approached the cabana I had reserved, I noticed a woman already inside. She was reclining on one of the lounge chairs, sunglasses perched on her head, sipping a drink. I approached her and said, "Excuse me, but I believe this is my cabana. I reserved it for today." Without looking at me, she replied, "I'm a mother. I need this space more than you do. You can find another spot." I was taken aback by her response. "I understand, but I did make a reservation for this cabana," I said, trying to remain calm. She turned to face me, clearly irritated. "Look, I have kids to watch. I need this space. You don't have children with you, so you can sit anywhere." Before I could respond, she called over a passing security guard. "This woman is harassing me," she said loudly. The security guard approached us and asked, "Is there a problem here?" The woman pointed at me and said, "She's trying to take my cabana. I have children to look after, and I need this space." I addressed the guard. "I reserved this cabana in advance. I have the confirmation email if you'd like to see it." The guard nodded. "That won't be necessary, ma'am. We keep a record of all reservations." He turned to the woman and said, "I'm sorry, but this cabana is reserved for her. I'll have to ask you to move to the public lounge chairs." The woman's face turned red. "But I'm a mother. I should have priority." The guard remained firm. "I understand, but reservations are honored regardless of parental status." He gestured towards the public seating area. "There are several available chairs over there." Seeing she was outnumbered, the woman huffed and gathered her belongings. As she passed me, she muttered under her breath, "Unbelievable." Once she was out of earshot, the guard turned to me with an apologetic smile. "Sorry about that, miss. Your complimentary champagne is on the way." True to his word, a server arrived moments later with a chilled bottle of champagne and a tray of fresh fruits. Settling into the cabana, I couldn't help but reflect on the encounter. While I understood the challenges of parenthood, it didn't grant the right to disregard others' reservations. Respect and courtesy go both ways. The rest of the day was blissfully uneventful. I lounged by the pool, sipped on champagne, and delved into a good book. Occasionally, I'd glance over to see the woman seated among other guests, her demeanor still bristling. But I chose to focus on my relaxation, letting the earlier incident drift away like the gentle ripples in the pool. In the end, vacations are about unwinding and finding peace. And despite the morning's hiccup, I was determined to make the most of mine. The cabana situation should have been the end of it. I was finally starting to relax. My drink was cold, the sun warm but not too hot, and the soft breeze made everything feel perfect. I had just pulled out my Kindle when I noticed her again. She was glaring. Sitting in one of the public lounge chairs near the shallow end of the pool, arms crossed, sunglasses off now, eyes fixed on me like she was waiting for something. I shrugged it off. Whatever grudge she was holding wasn't my problem. Or so I thought. About an hour later, I took a quick dip in the pool. The water was great. I floated around for a bit and then swam back to the cabana. As I climbed out, I noticed my beach tote wasn't where I left it. The fruit tray was knocked over. One of the towels had been soaked and thrown on the ground. The bottle of champagne? Gone. I stood there, dripping wet, staring at the mess. A couple walking by gave me a look, the woman whispering something to the man as they passed. My stomach dropped. I waved over one of the attendants who had helped earlier. "Hey, sorry, but did you see anyone near my cabana?" He frowned. I stepped away to bring more towels. Is something missing? I nodded. Yeah. Someone took my champagne and made a mess of my stuff. He looked genuinely upset. Let me get security. Security showed up pretty fast. Same guy from before, plus another one. I explained everything. They took a look around, even radioed for someone to check the cameras. Now here's where it got even weirder. As they're talking into their radios, that same woman walked by. She had a plastic cup in her hand and a smug look on her face. She didn't say a word, just smirked. I noticed something else: my champagne. Not the glass. The actual bottle, half empty, sticking out of her oversized beach bag. I pointed at it. That's mine. The second guard raised his eyebrows. Are you sure? Absolutely. They walked over and asked her politely if she had anything in her bag that didn't belong to her. She played dumb, gave them attitude, then eventually opened the bag. There it was. My champagne and one of the monogrammed towels from the cabana. Security didn't even have to argue. They asked her to leave the pool area immediately. She went off. Loud. Started yelling about how unfair this was, how mothers deserve respect, how I was some entitled single girl on a solo vacation with nothing better to do. I just stood there, silent, watching. Everyone was watching. They escorted her out of the pool area, but the whole vibe had shifted. People stared at me differently, some with sympathy, others like they were wondering what else had gone down. I went back into the cabana and tried to breathe. Deep. Slow. I told myself it was over. But I was wrong again. That night, I got a call in my room. Front desk. Miss, there seems to be an issue with your account. My heart skipped. What kind of issue? You ordered over $200 in food and drinks from the pool bar this afternoon, and it was charged to your room. I hadn't ordered anything beyond the champagne, which was free. I told them it had to be a mistake. The clerk hesitated. It was signed with your name and room number. And then it hit me. She saw my room number. She must have glanced at the reservation tag at the cabana when I went swimming or when she was pretending to leave. I marched down to the front desk, trying to stay calm. I explained everything again. They promised to investigate and said they'd remove the charges for now, but I'd have to fill out a formal complaint. Later, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how she didn't just want the cabana. She wanted to mess with me. To punish me for not giving in. For not stepping aside when she told me she deserved it more. It wasn't just entitlement anymore. It felt personal. And that made me angry. But I wasn't done either. Not yet. The next morning, I tried to shake it off. I even laughed a little at how absurd it all was. Who steals champagne and racks up charges on a stranger's room over a cabana? I figured she was probably gone by now. Resorts don't usually tolerate that kind of behavior, and security had seemed pretty serious. But then, as I walked past the lobby cafe on my way to the spa, I saw her. Sitting at a table with a large iced coffee and a toddler in a stroller next to her. She was chatting with another guest like nothing had happened. I stopped in my tracks. She noticed me. Her mouth twitched into a smile, not friendly, not sorry. The kind of smile people give when they're letting you know they're not done with you. I don't even think she blinked. I turned around and went straight to the concierge. She's still here. The concierge blinked. Who? I explained everything again. The cabana. The theft. The room charge. The confrontation. He promised to contact security and get the hotel manager involved. I didn't know what they could really do unless they caught her doing something else, but I wasn't letting this slide. I decided to go to the spa anyway. I needed something to take the edge off. A massage, some peace, anything. But as I was getting changed into a robe, a staff member knocked on the locker room door. Miss? We're so sorry, but your appointment has been canceled. What? Why? The woman hesitated. You told the desk earlier that you weren't feeling well and you needed to cancel it. No, I didn't. She looked confused. You called us from the pool phone. I froze. That's when it clicked. She had used the pool phone. I'd seen her walking past it earlier while I was drying off. This woman had straight up impersonated me to cancel my massage appointment. That was the moment I snapped. Not outwardly. Not loud. Just a quiet snap. A decision. She wanted to play games? Fine. I could play too. I spent the rest of the day gathering every single detail. I spoke to every staff member I'd interacted with: bar staff, spa desk, concierge, even the guy who brought towels to my cabana. I told them what had been happening, and I asked them to write incident reports. I even emailed myself copies of every message and confirmation I could find. Then I went full detective. I searched her social media. Took about 20 minutes. She'd posted a poolside selfie on Instagram, location tagged. Her account was public. In the caption? Some people don't know how to share. #momlife, #vacation drama. She'd tagged the resort. I took screenshots of everything. Then, late that afternoon, I went back to the front desk. Spoke to the manager. I showed him the screenshots. I handed over the incident reports. I explained how she had impersonated me, stolen from me, harassed me, and cost the hotel money. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he made a call. 10 minutes later, I saw security walk into the lobby. Not in a rush, not causing a scene. Just purposeful. The way people move when they're there to fix something. They walked toward the elevators. A few minutes later, she was coming down, flanked by both guards. She didn't look smug this time. The manager asked her politely to speak in private. They went into the office behind the concierge desk. I didn't hear what was said. But she never came back to the pool again. Later that night, I received a knock on my door. A housekeeping supervisor stood there with a letter and a gift basket. Inside the envelope, a handwritten apology from the hotel manager and a comped upgrade for the rest of my stay. A suite. Top floor. Private balcony. Plus 3 vouchers for spa treatments. The gift basket had wine, snacks, fruit, and a note. We appreciate your patience and understanding. It felt like closure. Until the next morning, when I got a call from my credit card company. Someone had tried to order over $800 worth of clothes online using my name and card number. They'd flagged it and blocked the charge. I was safe. But the timing? Too perfect to be coincidence. She had to have seen my card info somewhere. Maybe when I paid at the pool bar. Maybe from the spa. Maybe she was watching more than I realized. It wasn't over. Not yet. The moment I hung up with the credit card company, I knew it wasn't just about a cabana anymore. This woman, this stranger, had made it her mission to ruin my vacation. At first, I thought it was about entitlement. Now, I was sure it was something darker. It wasn't about a lounge chair or a drink. It was about control. I sat there on the bed in my upgraded suite, the basket of fruit untouched, the wine still corked, staring at the wall, trying to figure out how far she was willing to go and how far I was. I made a decision. If she wanted a war, I'd give her one. The front desk staff already knew me by name. I went back down and told them everything again, but this time I added the credit card fraud. I asked if they could check if she had ever been near the spa desk when I gave them my card. The manager looked at me and said, "I'll do one better." Turns out, the resort had footage of her hanging out around the cabana area when I'd gone to swim. They also had footage of her near the spa, leaning over the counter, pretending to talk to staff. She wasn't checking in. She was watching. Listening. The hotel was now concerned about liability. A guest being stalked, impersonated, stolen from? That was serious. They called the police. 2 uniformed officers showed up that afternoon. I gave them everything: emails, screenshots, even the video of her posted on Instagram tagging the resort while mocking me. They listened closely and nodded a lot. It wasn't just petty behavior anymore, it was criminal. The officers spoke with the hotel manager, reviewed the footage, and then went to her room. She was escorted out of the building with her child in one arm and a security escort on both sides. Her face was red with anger, but she wasn't yelling this time. She looked scared. She asked to speak to someone. They didn't let her. One of the officers carried a clear plastic bag with a few small items, among them what looked like a folded-up printout with my full name and room number on it. As they led her out of the lobby, she looked straight at me. Not with hate. but with something else. Something cold. Like she wasn't sorry. Like if she could do it all again, she would. I watched from the top of the staircase, hands gripping the railing. The police told me later she had several aliases tied to past hotel complaints in different cities. She used her mom's status as a shield to scam people, stealing reservations, charging things to rooms, even filing fake complaints to get free stays. Most of the time, hotels just let it go to avoid bad PR. But she picked the wrong person this time. After they left, the manager told me the hotel was pressing charges for fraud and theft. He said it was rare, but not unheard of. They'd banned her for life from every property under their brand name. I felt satisfied, but not proud. Later that night, I sat on the balcony with a glass of wine and thought about everything. About how I could have just walked away that first day. Let her have the cabana. I kept telling myself it was the principle. That if I didn't stand up, people like her would keep walking over people like me. But I didn't just stand up. I hunted her. I followed every step. I cornered her. And I didn't stop until I watched her get dragged out with her kid watching. There was a line somewhere in all this, and maybe I crossed it too. I won, but it didn't feel like winning. Her face still lingers in my head sometimes, especially that last look. Not because she scared me, but because I saw myself in her for 1 second. That same fire. That same quiet voice that said, "Make them pay." She used it to steal a cabana. I used it to end her vacation, her scheme, maybe even more than that. But only one of us walked away smiling. And it wasn't her.